The Ballad of a Mountain Soul. The story begins with a man who became a legend in the hills and a wonder in the city of stars. His name was Jed, a man of simple means and a heart as vast as the horizon. He was a poor mountaineer who spent his days wandering the rugged terrain, struggling with every ounce of his strength just to keep his family fed. He knew the language of the woods and the rhythm of the seasons, but wealth was a concept as foreign to him as the distant moon. Then came a day that changed the course of history for the Clampett family. Jed was out in the brush, his eyes keen and his hands steady as he hunted for food to put on the table. He fired a shot, expecting nothing more than a humble meal, but the earth had a different gift in mind. From the very ground where his bullet struck, a dark and mysterious substance began to bubble and rise. It was crude oil, the thick liquid that men called black gold and Texas tea. In that singular moment, the humble hunter was transformed. Before the sun could set on his old life, Jed was a millionaire. The news spread through the hills like wildfire in a dry forest. His kinfolk gathered around, their eyes wide with disbelief and excitement. They looked at Jed and told him that he must move away from the shack and the dusty paths. They insisted that California was the place he ought to be, a land of sunshine and dreams. And so, with heavy hearts for the home they left behind but bright hopes for the future, they loaded up their weathered truck and moved to Beverly Hills. It was a world of swimming pools and movie stars, a place where the Beverly Hillbillies would soon make their mark. On a bright morning in the heart of Beverly Hills, the grand mansion was bustling with anticipation. Jane Hathaway, the ever-diligent assistant, stood ready to welcome a very special guest. She was greeted by Miss Clavitt, who found the atmosphere particularly festive. Jane noted that everyone seemed dressed in their finest attire, as if preparing for a wedding. However, the occasion was even more official. They were there to greet the mayor of Silver Dollar City, a man who represented the roots they still held dear. The mayor was arriving that very morning, and the family had gone to the airport to fetch him. In the midst of the preparations, a symbolic key was presented. It was the key to the city of Beverly Hills, a gesture of friendship and honor. When Jed saw the key, he remarked with his characteristic wit that there must be a mighty big lock on such a town to require a key of that size. Jane explained with a smile that it was merely a symbol, one that the chief would present to Mayor Heller. Mr. Milburn Drysdale, the prominent banker and neighbor, joined the group, eager to make a good impression. Jane mentioned she had a little speech prepared, but Jed cautioned her not to make too much of a fuss, fearing it might get Shad all flustered. Shad Heller was not just any mayor, he was a man of the earth, a blacksmith by trade. Jed shared a tale of Shad's prowess, claiming he was the only blacksmith in the hills who had ever shoed a full-grown elephant. When the listeners reacted with shock, thinking Shad had shoed the animal with metal, Jed clarified that the elephant had simply wandered into a cabbage patch and Shad had shooed him away with his hands. As the party arrived from the airport, the air was filled with the warmth of old friendships. Granny, however, was notably absent from the greeting line. She had stayed behind to guard the house. Rumors of robberies had been circulating, and Granny was not a woman to take such threats lightly. Something had been taken every single night, and she was determined to catch the culprit. Mayor Heller stepped forward, shaking hands with Mr. Drysdale and Miss Jane. He was a man of sinewy hands and mighty arms, a true testament to the strength found in the hills. Miss Jane recalled watching him work at his forge back in Silver Dollar City, describing the thrilling sight of him shaping red-hot steel on his anvil. Despite the formal introductions and the presentation of the symbolic key, the conversation kept drifting back to the mysterious thefts. The list of stolen items was peculiar, to say the least. The night before, a jar of pickled owl gizzards had vanished. The night before that, someone had made off with hickory smoked possum shanks and a jar of minced paws. These were not the typical treasures a thief in Beverly Hills would seek, yet they were precious to the Clampett family. Granny arrived, her eyes sharp as she looked for any sign of the rascal who had been raiding her stores. She offered goat cheese to the guests, cheese that had been aging in the root cellar for 8 years. She joked that if it was gone, it must have gotten up and walked away by itself. Mr. Drysdale and Miss Jane politely declined the ancient cheese, opting to return to the bank instead. Mr. Drysdale offered to send the police, but the family felt they could handle the investigation themselves. As the sun climbed higher, the conversation turned to an old acquaintance named Shorty Callums. Shad asked if Shorty had settled down after returning home, but Jed revealed that Shorty had never actually made it back. He had disappeared a month ago after a wild stint in Hollywood. Shorty had been chasing girls and staying up all night, once even bringing home a girl twice his size. Jed had advised him to marry a girl from the hills and settle down, but Shorty's attempt at a proposal had gone terribly wrong. Shorty had written a proposal and slipped it under a door, but in his confusion, he had placed it under Granny's door instead of Ellie Mae's. When Jed found out, he used the mistake to scare Shorty, making him believe he was now engaged to Granny. Terrified of the prospect, Shorty had vanished into the night. The mystery of the root cellar thief came to a head when Jed and Shad decided to arm themselves and track down the intruder. They found the thief hiding among the jars and crates. It was none other than Shorty Callums himself. He was disheveled and hungry, pleading for them not to shoot. He explained that he had been hiding in the cellar for 4 long weeks, too scared to go home and too scared to stay in the city. He had been living off the pickled owl gizzards and goat cheese, spending his time meditating, reflecting on his sins, and occasionally indulging in a jug of spirits Granny had left behind. Jed reassured Shorty that Granny had never actually seen the proposal. It had all been a ruse to teach him a lesson. Relief washed over Shorty, and he repented for his wild ways, claiming he had found the spirit while hiding in the darkness. With the mystery solved, the group turned their attention to Shorty's future. They knew he had spent 30 years running the Silver Dollar City Hotel and thought he should buy it back. However, Shad revealed that the hotel had been sold to Verna Bradshaw, an old rival of Granny's. The tension between Granny and Verna was legendary, filled with insults about wrinkles and broomsticks. Shad and Jed hatched a plan to convince Shorty to marry Verna as a way to get the hotel back. They began to spin a web of stories, telling Shorty that Verna had won a beauty contest and had become a vision of loveliness. They described her as a beauty queen who had spruced up the entire town. Shorty, always a man with an eye for a pretty face, began to reconsider his opinion of Verna. He even started dreaming of being stranded on a desert island with her, unaware that Jed's own version of that dream was a nightmare. Shorty eventually called Verna, and after some negotiation, she told him the only way he would ever get the hotel back was by marrying her. In a moment of defiance, Shorty initially refused, but the seeds of the idea had been planted. Jed and Shad continued their charade, comparing Ellie Mae's beauty to Verna's, suggesting they were practically twin sisters. The arrival of Verna Bradshaw was a grand event. She was ready for a wedding, and Shorty, convinced he was marrying a beauty queen, was eager to head to Las Vegas. Granny was skeptical, calling Verna a vampire bat and reminding everyone of her wicked nature since childhood. But the momentum of the plan was too strong to stop. As they prepared to leave, a young woman named Gloria arrived with papers for Mr. Clampett. Shorty, seeing her, was instantly distracted, his old habits resurfacing. He forgot his plans with Verna for a moment, drawn to the charm of the Hollywood girl. However, the wheels of fate were already in motion. Verna was determined, and she planned to take Shorty to Las Vegas, where she would truly go ape with joy. The story of the man named Jed and his colorful kinfolk continued, a tapestry of mountain wisdom and city surprises. Through the humor and the misunderstandings, the core values of family, forgiveness, and the search for happiness remained steadfast. They were the Beverly Hillbillies, a family that brought the heart of the hills to the soul of the city, proving that no matter where you go, you should never forget who you are.